What is your particular understanding of spirituality? Do you believe
Mm.
in God? Do you have an Eastern practice? Are you an atheist? What is your relationship with, for lack of a better word, the divine?
Yeah, that is a whole rabbit hole in itself, and it also like depends on what you mean by God.
Hmm.
I was just having this conversation with a friend the other day when they asked me if I believe in God, and my answer is that I believe in a force larger than humans, a connecting force. My definition of spirituality is the progressive connecting to a larger whole. You can call that prana, the one, Tao, source, consciousness, God. I don't really care what the label is to me, but I do view that there is a larger force connecting all material and non-material realms.
Yeah. Well, and as somebody who is evidence based, what is some of the evidence that you've had or experienced in your own life that's made you come to that conclusion?
There's a lot out there. A lot of the work of the Global Coherence Project, I think it's called, and Heart Math, and Dr. Joe Dispenza and Dr. Dawson Church, they write about these and the experiments and phenomenons like remote viewing and things like that seem to defy our understanding, our current understanding of Newtonian physics. As you look at the near-death experiences and people that show by all medical instrumentation that they have passed, they no longer have brain waves, they no longer have a heartbeat, none of these things. But then when they are revived somehow, they come back and they can recount exactly what's going on in the room around them
Hmm.
when they were supposedly pronounced dead. And there's
Hmm.
like so many instances of these types of things that we probably will not understand solely through the material realm.
Hmm. When you say solely the material realm, could you clarify about what you mean that? Like, what is the material realm and what would be the immaterial realm in that case?
Yes. So the material realm is going to be all things that you can, I guess, see. You can
Hmm.
see through the naked eye with the senses, perhaps with a device. There's also like the electromagnetic devices and
Okay.
things that you can use to like. There's a device called Squid. I think the Russians use to help visualize the aura or the electromagnetic field put out by the body, and so that's like bridging the non-physical. Like, to me, I divide it into like the material realm, which is the things around us we can see with our senses, and the other things, the etheric things that are less easily defined because we simply can't perceive them with our naked senses.
Hmm. Yeah. So part of what I heard in that is like your definition of material versus immaterial would be material is something we can see, touch, feel with our senses and or measure,
Yeah.
right? So we can at least we can measure the thing, and the immaterial is anything that falls outside of what we can measure. So you would have something that is material that I think we all believe in would be like an G, right? I can see the waves of a brainwave, but I can't necessarily see your thoughts or your emotions or your feelings. Is that accurate?
Yeah. I mean, now that's the case, and perhaps in the future you will be able to, but like to me, the material
Hmm.
is like the things that we can see mainly with our senses. The immaterial is like the things that we can't see with our senses per se. And then until humans have like genetic alterations where we can see certain frequencies that we can't currently see, to me
Hmm.
that still falls into like the immaterial realm, the things that we can quantify but we can't necessarily perceive without like advanced instrumentation. Because even then, like
Hmm.
if the instrumentation's picking it up, we're just like looking at a screen, readings on a machine, and
Hmm.
we're interpreting those in some way. We're making them visual, we're making them auditory.
Right. Right. Yeah. Totally makes sense. One more question around the spirituality piece of it is what is your journey with spirituality? Have you always been somebody who had some sort of a spiritual connection? Were you raised religious or did you raised atheist? What is your kind of path with that so far?
I was raised kind of in between. Like technically, I was
Mm.
a Christian, but then I was also like words like Mother Nature were used in our house, which is like another signifier of a larger intelligent force that's not necessarily a large man in the sky with a beard who tells you the way you should live your life and scolds you for doing things wrong. But then it wasn't until college, I guess, that I started meditating. And when
Mm.
I started meditating, and I meditate every day and have for what, 12 years, 13 years, that I started deepening my practice. And now, to me, like, spirituality is less about the meditation, ironically, and more about like going through my day and noticing, like being more aware and present to the things going on inside me and around me.
Yeah. No, I think that's really well said. I think one of the things that anyone who's done meditation for a good amount of time, right, is they realize that there's a meditation practice, which is the cushion. And then you start to realize that meditation is really that thing that you're doing day to day. It's the constant noticing, it's the constant awareness, it's the constant returning to your breath or paying attention to how you're feeling. It's that awareness and that redirecting of your consciousness to where you want it to be rather than wherever it has happened to go.
One quote I also heard that I really like is that, to me, like, consciousness and spirituality is less about going up into the mountains and becoming a monk and secluding yourself for a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades. If you really want to develop a spiritual, like, consciousness practice, try going and living in the real world, have a partner, and go through your daily life, because that's when the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm.
And the reactions within you start to actually submerge. Before, it's very easy just to be off doing your own thing. There's nothing there to trigger you, nothing to create reactivity. But when you're actually trying to live life, that's when the things come up.
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite small parables is the same exact story where, there's a monk who goes and spends 5 years in a cave meditating on patience, and then finally achieves an understanding and, walks out and like he's on the street and somebody cuts him off and he starts cursing at the guy, down the road. And I love that story because it's just this sense of like, hey, like what you do in the cave is one thing, but like you got to bring it out into reality because there's a different level of that experience out here. You have to actually live and deal with those triggers as they come up.
Yeah. And we can take this full circle. You can apply that to health and wellness. It's one thing to read the theories, the studies. It's another to actually try implementing them for yourself where safe and appropriate. And of course, not medical advice. Check with your health practitioner first. But then it's another to actually experience it and say, okay, this does work for me given the right circumstances, the right time. And this also over here does not work for me.